Welcome back to Learning Paradigms today, and we're very excited about day 2, especially as we're approaching new continuities and themes following our discussions yesterday. So to recap a bit, we began day 1 with a question about our priorities and focuses as educators, and looked at what it means to be teaching, learning, and collaborating today. And with Nilanjana's session, it brought up questions often around diversity in content, in resources, in mediums, building more holistic experiences for a wide range of learners, allowing for more inclusive spaces of learning. And while she looked specifically at contemporary art practice and ways in which the constant flux and evolution of matter, material, and meaning around the everyday could be harnessed to create transferable and translatable resources for learners, the session was also very interesting because it shed light on how the personal lived experiences of learners themselves could contribute to more inclusive teaching strategies. Following Nilanjana's, we had Peggy's presentation on her incorporation of the AA artist exercises, and our engagement with the everyday in that context, brought up questions of approachability and accessibility, and how learners could be encouraged to find inspiration in their surroundings, their routines, and their interpretations to make, create, reflect, and express, especially in disruptive times such as now. We had our first exercise with the breakout rooms group discussion yesterday, which led to further ideas and reflections around some of the themes and topics that had featured in the Learning at Home series. And we are aware that there were some issues. So before we break out into the breakout room today, we go over a few questions that you might have so that it's easier and we can facilitate that a lot more smoother today. So to sort of jump right into what day 2 holds for us, our sessions for the day would begin and hopefully address questions in context of the classroom space, of activities and exercises within inclusive pedagogical practices, the component of emotional well-being, and tools within art and art practices that facilitate more interactive engagements in learning spaces. Our first session for the day is with longtime educator, Mary Mansukhani. And before I hand over the virtual stage to her, a little bit about the speaker. She is an educator specializing in inclusive education practices and the management of learning disabilities. Having worked in the field of education for the past 4 decades, she has taught at schools across the country, spanning CBSE, State Board, and ICSE formats. In 2016, she retired from St. Mary's School as head junior section and proceeded to head the Orchids Foundation Center at Paras World School, Gurugram. And most recently, she was a special educator at the Mothers International School, and she is currently working at St. Mary's as a special educator in the mental health department. Today's first session, led by her, is titled Mapping the Emotional Wellbeing Component in Education, and it will look at what it means to think of the classroom as a space of diversity. How is it that teaching strategies today can cater to the diversity within a classroom in ways that don't just accommodate it, but also activate it to incorporate and magnify inclusive teaching practices. So it will also look at what it is to function in a virtual environment today, and whether we consider the physical space of a classroom or a virtual interface, how is it that we can manage or understand a diverse class today? So without further ado, I'd like to invite the speaker to start.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to start with the introduction. It takes a team. What does it mean to be a learner in a classroom with a wide range of physical and learning capacities? A classroom as a space that houses learners from economic backgrounds, family dynamics, and also a wide variety of learning styles. Yes, how do we define a classroom today? Creating an environment where all learners could feel they belonged, a space of learning to which each one of them have equal access, one where they are loved and respected by their friends and their teacher. I would like to share my experience where, after having taught for 15 years before I joined St. Mary's, I felt I knew it all. No, that was never. I had a class that was very diverse, a little class of grade 2. Within a week of teaching this class, I was able to understand the potential as well as the limitations of such a diverse class of students. So I built a team of 40 children and me. That was 41, where each one of the learners with their strengths and weaknesses were co-members of the team. Now it's 40 to 1. Magic cannot happen. You had children with disability, and that was my first experience. Peer support was one strategy that I used, which involved placing students in pairs, in groups. Earlier days, the classes were, you had your seating arrangement where, just 2 children sat on a bench. So you could rearrange the class in whatever way you wanted for various activities. So I had students in pairs, in groups, to accelerate learning process. This system was implemented throughout the class, not for a specific child. It helped learners cultivate a sense of shared ownership. The class belonged to us. Ownership of space of the classroom. Each one of us belonged, including me, each one of us belonged here. We were crucial stakeholders in each other's learning process, which took me a long way. That was my beginning. What qualities do you think a teacher must have in a classroom with a wide range of learners? First, I think, is patience. You have children who are naughty, who would run around the space, who would create a ruckus in the class. So patience, being a good listener. The second point, understanding the potential as well as the limitations of your diverse class. And very strongly, I believed in encouraging my learners to question. Observing, noticing changes in behavior and moods of the learners. Every day is a new day. So if a teacher is just out there, use the blackboard, do some activities, chalk and blackboard, notebooks, it's much beyond that. So observing, noticing change in the moods and behavior of learners played a crucial part in the performance of the child. Being sensitive. Updating oneself. What I firmly believed was updating oneself as a teacher through workshops, seminars, short certificate courses, reading, staying aware and being abreast of what it means to be a teacher today. Now, next slide would be, how do we prioritize emotional well-being? Now, just at the start of this session, a little girl in St. Mary's, 1, 2, 3, 4 grades are junior section, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the middle school. So a little girl who had just moved in from the junior section into the middle school of this academic session asked this question in my class, "Ma'am, what do you mean by emotional well-being?" There were 5 to 6 virtual hands that came up. There were answers that came up as how people learn, how people and learners are feeling, happy, sad. Some may feel stressed or anxious. These words came out from these 10-year-old children, which was a great takeaway for me. So they were aware. What is emotional well-being? So emotional well-being is not a new phrase. It has been a part of school and teaching strategies, teaching practices in St. Mary's for a long period of time. Can I move on to the next slide? The basic thing we did was something called circle time. This has been on in St. Mary's for a long time. So well-being is not a new word. It has come out as a new word, but these were activities that were done before. Now here, the class within the space, benches were moved back. All classes had durries. So they sat in a circle. The teacher had a little toy, which was taken up. So this was actually done by the class teacher. It never was done every day. It was once a week. So it was taken up by the class teacher, where the teacher sits in the circle amongst the children, and the teacher would pass around the toy. No child was compelled to speak or express her views. The teacher started the sentence herself. Say, for example, a topic like, what was your Sunday like? The teacher would say, I had a lot of fun. I went out to eat ice cream. She passes the toy to the next child. He doesn't want to speak. It moves on to the next. That child speaks. So it went around in a circle. What happens here was, over the second circle, you get children to, those who never spoke would speak, because it helped learners to communicate, share, and even listen to what the others were saying. So emotional well-being is a concept that was there, but may not be the term. But today, it has become very, very important, because learners are witnessing and experiencing changes within the confines of the home and the current situation, the pandemic. So children are getting to see a lot. Being an observant teacher makes the difference. There are days when the learner is not his or her usual self. A simple question from the teacher, are you fine? Is everything all right? Maybe you see certain things in the child. The learner opens up. Being a good listener makes the learner feel very comfortable by teachers asking me this little simple question. So he settles in. He says, ma'am, I'm fine. I got a scolding. He would open up. Since classes are very diverse, the strategy of peer support is even used today. Plays a great role in confidence building amongst peers. So you have children with special needs, you have children coming from economically weaker section, you have children coming in from homes. They would not hesitate to ask for help because they know they are a part of a team. They are a part of a group. Learners become collaborative problem solvers. Say, when they have a simple project presentation as a group of 5, there would be difference of opinion. There would be, I don't want to do this. So there is no teacher. There is one leader in a group of 5 where children learn to solve problems amongst themselves. So simple disagreements, fights are sorted out by them. Learners become more empathetic and take care and support learners with special needs. So they are also a part of the presentation. So the work given to the child with special needs may be the introduction of the whole thing. Maybe it is visually put out for him to read out. So these were accommodations that was done by the group of children. Looking at the diversity of the class, since our school is a neighborhood school, so we have children coming in from the neighborhood. So regular parent interaction help parents of special needs children. They are lost at times. So children are given one-to-one support with modified syllabus, even worksheets sent home for parents to work on. Parents of many of these learners are also counseled and supported with teaching strategies. You know, a simple thing like addition, this is the way you need to do. Use these visual aids. If we have extra in the school, we would lend it out. Teaching strategies to help and support the parent to teach the child at home. A positive word of encouragement makes a world of difference for the child, for the learner in the class. A positive word of reinforcement from the teacher. That makes a lot of difference for children. I'm moving into the next slide. today's challenges of the virtual. It has been, to be very honest, it has been a totally new experience. We were all taken by surprise when this lockdown happened in the month of March. Normally in a school, children have computer classes, which is a period, 2 periods a week. So it was a totally new experience for teachers, for the learner, and for many parents. Parents who were not even tech savvy. Parents who had 3 children, they needed 3 laptops, mother working, father working. So it was a big, total new learning experience for all of us. Since each class had 40 learners to 1 teacher, to remain connected, checking regularity, following up on learners who were unable to attend classes due to tech facilities. So we have a lot of children coming in from different homes. We have children coming in from Missionaries of Charity, from Kushi Home, from Tara Boys, Tara Girls, Tara Tots. So we have a wide, and children from the neighborhood. So we have a wide variety of children. So many of them wouldn't have an Android phone to access it. So we have a social worker who checks, monitors, and brings about to ensure that brings about support where every child is brought in, feels that everyone, to ensure that everyone is a part of the classroom. Can I move on to the next PPT? Now, navigating an inclusive setup. The need to closer checks and balances. Breaking down, I'm just reading out the points and I will highlight what it actually means. Breaking down the classroom. That is a classroom of 40 children. Carefully mediating, moderating, and creating content. Aware of the overlaps caused by fusion of home and school spaces. Now, the need for closer checks and balances was to check whether children are regularly attending, monitoring attendance, submission of work, where do I submit, how do I submit. So they needed support for all these things. The second was a class of 40 was broken into 2 groups of 20-20. So group 1, group 2. We needed more teachers, of course. So breakdown of classrooms made it comfortable space for interaction. So the teacher has an eye on the 20 children who are there. Shifting to virtual has implied more hours spent on screen. So we had to carefully mediate, moderate in creating new content, resulting to new teaching strategies, careful and conscious way of encouraging children to do their work rather than spending a lot of time in front of the screen. Then we also had been aware of the fact that the fusion of home and school spaces, because there was overlap, that activities were being done, assessment needs to be spaced out, spread over a period of time. So we had, there are 4 subjects in the middle school, 4 to 6 subjects in the middle school. So a timetable was made in which there was no, work given together. There was no overlap, but homework spread out over a period of time. Children over these 4 months have learned the use of flipped classroom, which is taught in the computer class and also taken up by the teacher. So flipped classroom is again worked in groups, that is teamwork, peer work, groups of 5 where there is a child who's strong, a child with special needs. So they are groups of 5 and they are given a topic, they do the presentation, it leads on to further discussion. Children had also been taught how to use Kahoot, where they learn to create quizzes, online quizzes. So these are things that were taught in the computer class. So children were very smart. And they also worked in groups, activating peer support. Padlet was another component to enhance the display of their creative work within the space of a classroom. So children have become really tech savvy and adapted themselves, where parents are also learning. Now, themes, can I move on to the next slide, please? Bringing a system of support online, collaborating with diverse learners, encouraging sensitivity, building emotional rapport, understanding the division of responsibilities and tasks. So here the point is collaborating diverse learners, that is peer work again, teamwork again, encouraging sensitivity, building emotional rapport, understanding the division of responsibilities and tasks, just not the children, but also that of the teacher. Now, co-curricular activities were also, co-curricular activities have always been a part of St. Mary's. Arts, craft, music, dance, PT, yoga, all these were included within the larger framework of the emotional well-being of the class. Even now, we have, with the pandemic, all these are included as a part of being not just there for the learner, but also for the parent. These things happen early in the morning from 7:30 to 8:30. Parents are encouraged. Those who wish to join can join. And there is another session. 2 of them happen later in the evening, that is between 4 and 5. So parents who are also stressed out would join a dance session or a music session or a Zumba session in the evening. And yoga and dance or music happens in the morning. Can I move on to my next slide? No. Okay. Emotional well-being. Questions that concern have been taken precedence today. What are the things that remain to be organized? What are the things you need to do to remain organized? How do we understand our routines? These are little things that we had taken up with children. How do we organize? How do we declutter? Stress management, life skills of learners, basic life skills for a 10-year-old. Now, resources that I found helpful include lesson plans and activities uploaded by the Mental Health Commission, say for example, that of Canada. Apart from this, blogs and other mental resources shared by educators, psychologists, working with and within schools have been very helpful. I have also included them in a list of resources for this workshop. Most of these educators advocate bringing the component into the classroom through activities and games. This makes it fun and fascinating for the learner to discover these things about themselves in a safe and supportive environment. Can I move on to the next one? I would like to explain some of the activities that I have used and done with children in the class. This is a game that I played with my children, grade 5 and 6, 10-year-olds and 11 and 12-year-old children, called Bingo. There are 25 circles, and I have, brought about change in certain words and phrases to suit to the need of my children in the class. So after we played this game, like the first one is slept rested for 9 hours. Okay. So children were a little confused. Ma'am, 9 hours during the day? I said, think, how many hours do you sleep in the night? Some of you all take 1 hour break in the afternoon. So they said, yeah. So if you have done that activity, you put a cross. The ones you haven't done, you don't put a cross. So after that, I said, count up your crosses and mark it on 25. So I said, it's not marks. It's just to know. Then I put out a question to the children. What do you have to say after playing the game of bingo? They came out with the answer, ma'am, I've come to know that These are things that I can do. Some came out with the answer. Now I know the things I need to work on. So it was amazing that these children came out with these answers. Can I move on to the next one? Thank you. This is a word bank. There is language also, and there is art also, emotion charades. So the emotion words are worried, angry. You can add the list on. They added another 10 words. They're just 6 or 7 of them, 6 I think. Sad, happy, grouchy. Some of them didn't know what grouchy means. So somebody said it in Hindi. So, you know, they used a different medium. Angry, worried. Now, I said, look at the expressions of the images, but just keep a sheet. So they always have a book in front of them when I take up emotional well-being class for them. So I said, you choose one synonym and write the synonym beside the emotion word. So somebody said worried, distressed, angry is mad. Somebody said irritated. So they wrote out the words. Then I gave them the exercise. So it was amazing to see the results, which they uploaded on my Google Classroom. I said, now draw yourself with that emotion of yours. And I said, if you have a black pen, don't color it, just use a black pen and sketch it out. It was amazing to see those images that children had come out. It was just not a circle. I can make a comic strip out of the whole thing. So there was one child who drew anger, smoke coming out of his ears, you know. So there were different ways in ways of expressing the images that children could bring out. Can I move on to the next slide? So it is for us as teachers to create, bring about, or think standing on our feet, what is it that I can do for my class? Now this is, they laughed. Ma'am, is there a thermometer for emotions? So I said, you can create one. There is no thermometer for emotions, but you can create one. This is on a score of 0 to 5. Now, how do you feel? What do you do when you are feeling this way? Then I brought this about since the pandemic is on, daddies at home, some of them come from joint families, so their parents at home, furious. So they came out with words like yelling, kicking, shouting, throwing things. They came out with fantastic words. So I said, put in the words that you do when you are furious. You do when you are angry. And they came out with more words. So I said, this is a simple exercise you can even do at home. You can involve your daddy and mommy and everybody to do this. So then that self-realization of well, this is what I do, this is what I shouldn't do. So there is a lot of learning that happens. Can I move on to the next one? Yes. I'm coming to this part. Who is a learner today? A teaching strategy must always be built to remain adaptable. Now, we were normally going to a regular school. You met the children, there were football matches, you're standing there watching, but now it's all the virtual medium. So teaching strategies should be always adaptable. In looking to maintain continuity in learning, what we must be is sensitive to, what must we be sensitive to? The last segment would look at what it means to think and think within a student-centric system of teaching, learning, with examples of current strategies and practices that have worked as sensitive, inclusive formats. Working with numbers, that is 40, how do we manage, how do we do? Challenges of the virtual classroom, are all children attending, are all following, higher number of students, for kids requiring extra support with special needs. Say for example, being a special educator and taking emotional well-being classes in a class of 40, I have a timetable where I chip in. Every child with special needs varies. One may be in class 6, but following a curriculum which is slightly lower as far as, suppose, I'll give you an example, like they are doing addition of large numbers in the Indian system. But you have a child with Down syndrome who is doing the same process using just 5 digits. So it is important for us to create simpler worksheets, simpler resources, simpler strategies to ensure they also remain a part of the classroom without feeling alienated. They are also a part of the classroom. So it is extra work for the teacher. They are kept abreast of the class, yet at their own pace. It's not that he is forced to do, I'm talking about grade 5. They do the Indian and international system. There are many children who can't take the international system because it becomes confusing for them. So they do the Indian system. And there are some who would do that system, may not be moving to lakhs and crore, but we would be doing it in thousands and 10,000s, but he's doing the same concept. Simpler strategies to ensure that they remain a part of the classroom without feeling alienated. They are kept abreast, yet at their own pace. This also is a concern of emotional well-being of that child. Is he happy? Is he a part of the class? A feeling of being included, a feeling of belonging. Children from care homes, that is one point. See, care homes, wo ghar se aa rahe hain, they are coming in from homes. But these children coming from care homes, how do we begin to understand the specific nature of the emotional baggage they carry? It's amazing. It's amazing. So what they need from us as teachers is that we respect, we are empathetic, we are good listeners. Specific nature of emotional baggage that these learners carry and are faced on a daily basis. As teaching and learning are no longer bound to the physical space of the school, a challenge of the virtual remains a question of adaptability. If you're willing to adapt, change with the times, then I think you're a bang-on teacher. The last part of the PPT, can I move on to the last slide? Yes. Thank you so much. As teaching and learning are no longer bound to the physical space of the school, a central challenge of the virtual remains a question of adaptability. How do we adapt and grow with these changing times? How do we build community-led, collaborative, team-fueled system of support to nurture growth and learning? What are ways towards more holistic ideas of teaching and learning that takes everybody along? So that is today's session. I hope it was meaningful.